Hi, this is Natalie from Tangle Artistry, and I'm just going to quickly show you how to do these layered pumpkins. They're really easy. You're basically just going to paint your 2 layers, so you paint your background layer and then paint the layer on top, glue them together, and then put your stands together so that they can stand up when you're done. There's a little notch on the bottom of each one, so when you glue together, just make sure everything lines up, and so this little notch on your back piece will stick out, and that's what's going to go into your stand. When you're painting, you want to avoid getting too much paint on this little slot piece here, because if there's a lot of paint, it won't fit back into this slot here. The same thing when you paint your stand, try to avoid getting a lot of paint into here, or the piece might not fit back in. And here you can take something to kind of scrape out if you get paint in there, a toothpick, a razor blade, a pen, just something to get the paint out. On here, if you notice when you try to put it in the stand, it won't fit back in. You can also take a little bit of sandpaper and sand some of that paint off, and that might help. Before I begin, I always just like to kind of put everything out and take a look and see what I have, get a game plan of what I'm painting and how. And then the second thing, a lot of these are pretty clean, but sometimes if there's details, they might have some soot on them. So I will take a damp, not wet, like paper towel or rag, or this is actually like a baby wipe, and just kind of wipe over that area, and it'll just take that soot off, so then it doesn't have that darker ring around it. And then you'll also find sometimes there are still little pieces left over from when the laser cut. You can take a sewing pin or a toothpick or just something small and kind of push those through to clear it. Just be gentle so that you don't accidentally break any pieces of your design. The same thing, your leaves, sometimes these you just kind of take and pop those out. When painting, you can do it any way you like. I like to avoid the edges because the cut edges are darker, and so I just leave it as like a little outline. You can paint the edges, they just take several coats to cover because they are darker. And I use these sponges to paint. You just dip your sponge into the paint, dab it off onto a paper plate so it doesn't have a ton of paint, and then either wipe or dab your color on. If you wanted to do something like this backer piece was just painted all black, and then the pumpkins on top were separated and painted. So I just took a pencil and very lightly just kind of sketched to section those off, and then painted the sections the different colors. So for any of these, you're just going to do the same thing. Paint your backer piece, paint your top piece, line them up to glue so that your piece down here that goes into the slot sticks out. You can also paint the back if you want. So when gluing, I like to have a scrap piece of paper. Your glue comes in this little container. You just open it up, use this to apply your glue. You want a very thin layer, don't apply it too heavy. You can also pour out a little bit of glue and use a brush to apply it. Just make sure that you're moving quick enough that the glue doesn't dry as you are applying it. And then after I put the glue on, I like to stamp it off onto a plate and then put it onto my piece and line it up. I stamp it off so that the excess glue, if it's really thick, will go onto the piece. That way when you put it onto your backer piece here, the glue won't smush out and make a mess. And then after you apply the glue, just apply some pressure and to hold it together. If it's a bigger piece, I might put a book or something on it for half an hour. Make sure that it kind of pinches together, makes contact while the glue is drying. For your stands, you have 2 different pieces. If you have a larger one, you will have a slightly larger base, and then if you have some of the singles, you'll have a smaller base. You can paint these however you want, and then the same thing, take some glue and glue this together just in the center there. Just try to make sure you don't get glue that seeps out into your hole where the pumpkin will stand up. And then the same thing, just put some pressure, something on that while the glue dries to keep it together. And then once this is dry, you can put your pumpkins inside. So a couple of things, if this is too tight, just make sure you don't have paint in here. Try to clear it out, or you might have to sand your tab here a little bit. If it's too loose, just apply another layer of paint on either the front or the back and let it dry, and then that should help snap it in. Okay, so if you're doing the snowman, you're going to do it the same way. So you're going to paint your background piece the color you want your snowman. So in most cases, paint it white. And then paint all your little pieces separately. A trick for painting the small pieces is if you have painter's tape or masking tape. If you take it and roll it into itself so that it makes a loop with the sticky part facing out and stick that to your table, you can actually set these onto the sticky part of the tape. So when you are painting and you dip your sponge into the paint and then dab it off, then you can just sponge up and down on these to paint them without them moving around and going all over the place on you. And then before I start gluing, I just like to lay everything out so I know where it is and then glue one piece at a time. For your hat, make sure you don't glue that to your pumpkin, but you do want to glue the little pieces together to itself. So glue everything down, and then you're going to do the Velcro at the very end. So to apply the Velcro for your hat, I'm going to take, you have a couple of pieces of Velcro. I'm going to take the bigger piece and put it just like right here in the center. And then I'm going to take these smaller pieces and I'm going to put one on either side and then one at the top of the stem here. And then I'm going to take the corresponding pieces, peel them off their backer, and just carefully kind of set them onto the other piece of Velcro. So the Velcro sides are together and the sticky side is facing up. So all the sticky pieces of the Velcro are facing up, and then I'm going to take my hat and position it where I want it. I'm just going to press that down really well, make sure everything connects, all 4 pieces of my Velcro, and then I'm going to peel it off. And so then that way your Velcro sticks to your hat piece and lines up in the same spots that are on your snowman. And then each time you want to put it on, you're just going to reposition it and put it like that. So you can leave your hat on in the winter, and then when you're decorating for your other season on the back, you can take the hat off. You also have leaves, or sometimes you have little charms for Halloween. These are just to add on as little decorations. So if you have smaller pumpkins like this, you can just use string or twine to kind of wrap those around, so you can paint them and then wrap them around and they can kind of hang. You can do them on the stacked pumpkins as well here. Just keep in mind, if you have the snowman on the other side, you're either going to have to like just glue twine here to make it look like it's wrapped around, or just tie it around but cut it off each season. So these are optional. It's just a little added thing if you want to do it, but they do come with the kit if you want to use those. That's it. So it's a nice fun project. I hope you had some fun. I hope you learned a few things. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to see what you created. You can email me or tag me on social media. You can email me at natalie@tangleartistry.com, or on social media it's at tangleartistry. You can also contact me if you have any questions or if you need anything. I would love to hear from you. Thanks so much. I will see you guys next time. Bye.